I've accomplished. I started a podcast. I did a half marathon. I did a full marathon. I did a boxing fight. I'm training for a 100-kilometer ultra marathon.
What is it triggering in me? And that is an opportunity to let go of another layer of complexity that I have. PTSD can be very subtle. For me now, being alone in the water, surfing, looked at everything around me. The ocean was crystal clear and the sun was shining. And I was like, this is what I live for. We all share the same suffering. That's the first truth of the Buddha.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Wiser Together. Thank you for joining us and being a part of this. We truly appreciate your support. Today, I'm so excited. Oh, this has been a long time coming. We have Amber with us today. Used to be my mentor and a very good friend. I want to sort of start with how I met you and my impression of you. And yeah, we can sort of take it from there. Uh, so 2022, I believe. Yeah, 2 years has been, wow, it's been a long time. I was sort of looking for a silent retreat somewhere in Bali, and I came across a lot of them, but none of them really caught my attention. Uh, the Soul Silent Retreat which you were hosting was the only one that caught my attention. And my only sort of criteria was that I wanted to see that the purpose of whoever's hosting that retreat, is it coming from, is it what they're doing purposeful for them, or they do it for the monetary gain? Yeah, monetary is a part of it, but is that the primary focus or the secondary focus? And that was the biggest thing. And the moment we did our sort of like the first warm-up call and we had that chat, I was like, I found it. This is a gem. And this is what I saw, that your offerings were led by that purpose that comes from within. It wasn't so much uh, led by the monetary gain. And you keep doing this to this day. And we very much saw during the retreat as well how you carried it out. Everything was so perfect. We're going to talk more about this and how that sort of changed my life as well. It had a big impact on me. Uh, but yeah, God give you more power and blessings to keep doing what you're doing, because it's absolutely amazing. And I recommend everybody to, yeah, if they get a chance to get in touch with you, interact with you, come to your retreats, or in any way they can. And this, I've talked to so many people about you after that. I remember I went to Istana right after, and I was telling people about like how I went on this magical retreat, and like it was crazy. But thank you
Oh,
so much.
thank you.
Thank you so much. That retreat like changed my life in a lot of ways. Uh, but yeah, thank you for joining us. And I just wanted to start with that little story.
Oh, thank you. And it's like, hearing this is, yeah, it makes my heart explode. You don't see
Yeah.
it. Like literally. Yeah, I remember when we did our warm-up call and you asked me like, what is your purpose? And I was like, well, like it has nothing to do with me. It has to do with you, it has to do with the people who join, and like it like my purpose is your purpose, you know what I mean? Like I just want to I know that these technique and these other tools that I'm bringing into this retreat is something that changed my life, and tools that helped me to navigate life in a better way, and I just want to give it to other people. Basically same like what the Buddha was doing, because that is the technique of the Buddha. He just came into that, like he came into enlightenment. I'm not not there yet, but he just wanted to give it to others. He wanted to help other people to come out of suffering. So we all share the same suffering. We all have suffering. That's the first truth of the Buddha, and like suffering exists. And I think that when we find something that help us in a profound way to come out of suffering, you just want to share it, out of your heart to heart connection. So yeah, thank you.
And I think that's one of the most profound things you can do for a person. And not just that, I obviously learned a lot from your teachings and all the other offerings that we're going to talk about now. But also, like, the energy that I saw in you is sort of, its energy is contagious. And I sort of carry that part of that within me today as well. And that's what I share with people around me. So it's crazy how uh, once you help people and share that energy, so contagious, goes so far, and it helps people in ways you couldn't even imagine.
Parmeet, I have a question for you. Like, would you consider Amber, the experience that you had with Amber, to be like one of those foundation experience that has led you to be the person that you are today? Like, of course, I know there are lots of elements and things, but yeah.
100% for me. Like, I think I always had this sort of deep desire to explore this side more and more. But uh, having crossed paths with Amber and sharing that energy with Amber, it gave me so much insight and sort of put me right on that path and put me ahead on my journey to do the things that I want to do. After that, I want to tell you everything I've accomplished. I started a podcast. I did a half marathon. I did a full marathon. I did a boxing fight. I'm training for a 100-kilometer ultra marathon in October. And it's so crazy. Like, life's been amazing after that. And I remember, like, I came to
And he's going,
I'm so happy.
yeah, he's going all in on his personal brand as well. I mean, his the things that he's posting, sharing. So
and I was really able to refine my purpose and live from that position. Uh, and yeah, it's people around me can say as well, like, this, it's helped them in a lot of ways. So energy is like, nobody can sort of take credit for it, right? It keeps flowing from one person to the other, and that's the beauty of it, because you can't really label it with one person or one thing or one situation.
Exactly. Yeah. The more that we work on ourselves, the more we work on our relationships. Like when I came back from Vipassana, like that was when my romantic relationship and, relationship with my family, with my friends, with myself, and it starts with ourselves,
Hmm.
that just it purified and it keeps purifying because there's always more layers and more layers and more layers. And the more we practice, the more that we manage to let go of these layers. And then obviously, because we are mirrors of each other, like all of us,
Yeah,
all of
yeah.
the people in the world, even the animals, all the beings, we are mirrors of each other. So when you have less complexity, you reflect less complexity, and then that kind of, and like you said, it you can't label it, but everything flows and just become like more flowy and more easier and more full of love and kindness rather than negativity, aggression,
Yeah,
etc.
yeah. It's beautiful what you mentioned, that it all starts from within. So even if you're passing a judgment on the outside, it's a part of you that sees judgment of you from that angle and then passes it on. And these concepts in the beginning can be a bit hard to understand, but once you get it, it makes so much sense.
Exactly. And it's like exactly like you said, I find that for me, if someone agitates me, that is my time to pause and just see, why am I getting agitated? It's not this person. This person is going to keep being this person. What is it triggering in me? And that is an opportunity for me to let go of another layer of complexity that I have.
yeah, Stoicism also shares a similar concept, and what the Stoics say is that you can't get insulted if you don't feel insulted. It's,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. It's like it's again, because we are mirrors of each other. It's like, you can say, oh, that person is like pushed my buttons, or that person did something completely immoral, but it is, and we are humans, so we have to understand as well that we're not the Buddha, not yet, and that we can get agitated. And that is where there's a really fine line that we start to also become a little bit suppressive, because I can also take that same situation if someone agitated me and I get agitated, and I can tell myself, oh, I shouldn't be agitated because it's me, and then I suppress the agitation rather than allow the agitation to be and sit with the agitation without falling into it, without detaching from it. So this is why there's a difference between non-attachment and detachment. Yeah.
Like
So we
processing.
want to, yes, sitting with it. And, it doesn't have to be in the moment. So maybe in the moment I got angry, I got snapped, I blah, blah, blah. And then I come back, sit with myself and be like, okay, what just happened? Okay, I feel anger coming up, and I just want to sit with that anger and try to analyze and ask myself questions about this anger. Why am I experiencing it? Where is it coming from, etc., etc. And when I sit with that anger and accept it, again, not suppress it, because I know that it's me, it's like me to choose, and this is when, people who practice these practices can become actually, for in the name of the practice and in the name of the teachings, start to actually do the opposite work, right? They start to create more suffering in the name of getting out of suffering. so so we do need to understand that, so if I was insulted, I want to feel insulted for a moment and just be, okay, I'm insulted right now. Where do I feel it in my body? What kind of thoughts? Why am I feeling insulted? What did this other person do? Just sit with it and just analyze it, and then things become quieter after we sit with it for a bit and we welcome it. Then things become quieter, and then maybe another layer would dissolve. And when another person do the exact same thing, I might maybe be less insulted or not insulted. Yeah. So sometimes it can be, I think there's even like some terms for it, like toxic positivity, when you're like, oh, like, don't get insulted from that person because it's you to choose if you get insulted, but you're insulted, so we want to just make that dance between, being with it and feeling it and knowing that you're humane in a human experience in this body, in this lifetime, but you are also not. So you're also able to zoom out and look at things from above and be like, actually, that is not that bad. Or
A
like,
hundred
actually, that's
percent.
because,
A hundred
yeah,
percent.
yeah,
I believe it's what you said. The more, and I get what you're saying about the dancing part. It's a very fine line between that toxic positivity and what we're talking about. And just want to revert back to what you said in the beginning. The more you work on yourself, the more better you become at it. Because what you're saying right now,
exactly.
I've shared it with Parmeet. I think that has been the single factor in me in and again, using one of your words, making my life a bit quieter, a bit simpler. And this has allowed me to focus and prioritize the things which are important for me rather than giving energy or giving time and focus to things which were not serving me. So, very well put. I could relate it 100%.
And I also think, like, if certain emotions are coming up in certain situations and they're coming up so strong, like they're really asking for your attention in that moment, they're there for a reason. Like if they're so strong in that moment, they're really asking for your attention. So, and we're never really taught to like process them or sit with them and reflect on them. Uh, we have so many distractions in our environment these days, be it a phone, movie, person, outing, social things. We just sort of keep suppressing it, and it just explodes at a later time in the future.
Exactly. And it's the same with injuries, it's the same with like pain that we have in our body. If we are thinking that, okay, I have a pain in my knee and that's just because of an old injury, or that I have this pain in my knee and it's shouting at me and I'm just gonna suppress it, or like take a painkiller, or, you know, name it, like it's our body and our mind are signaling us things, and when things come into the surface, we want to be able to, welcome them and process them so we can allow them to also leave our body, leave our mind.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. Uh, I want to ask you, how did this purpose become? When and how? What was sort of that journey like? When did this purpose become clear, and what sort of impact has mindfulness had on your life? Uh, I wanted to like understand your journey as to when and how this purpose came about and became clear to you. And was it sort of like a eureka moment, or is it something that evolved over time? And what sort of impact has mindfulness had in your life?
I think that, well, it was gradual and sudden at the same time. So gradually, I did have some like issues with my digestive system, and like had some like pain in my stomach. And then the way that I kind of managed to solve that was with yoga, and that kind of took me to that calling of passing this on and do my first yoga teacher training in 2016. But then it wasn't until I actually participated in this first Vipassana that I like that was sudden. That was like a life-changing experience, because I did have a PTSD from a surf accident. So I wasn't a great surfer, but I was just beginning to surf. But I did have an accident, and that kind of turned into a PTSD. Now, PTSD can be very subtle as well. So it is very hard sometimes to
Mm,
actually understand that you're experiencing it, because it kind of take over you very gradually over time, and it creeps in. So all of a sudden there's like more fear, and you're more paralyzed, and you all of a sudden have panic attacks, and all these things kind of happen, and you think that you're just normal, not normal. So I didn't really understand what is going on with me, but in retrospective I could understand that, because it also then go into your kind of daily life, and kind of it can manifest in weird ways, like feeling
yeah.
lost, or confused, or not knowing exactly what you want, even into little details of like what you want to wear, what you want to eat, or where you want to go. So it kind of creeped in into these kind of layers that I didn't put together as like a part of a bigger puzzle. Yeah, I was kind of just thinking that I'm just confused and afraid, and all these things just happened to me. Um, and then when I went to the first Vipassana, it was quite mind blowing to understand how my system works. Like I just became like a scientist of my own body and mind, and understand how they connect, and understand that I have full responsibility, and I could gain ownership on my life rather than be just like tossed around, in the stream of life. Um, so for me, it was a mind-blowing experience. It was literally, like you said, it was literally life-changing, because I understood better how my system, like system as for body, mind, soul, whatever you want to call it, we have lots of layers, but I could understand how it works, and I could understand how to work with it. And that brought into, way more self-love, way more self-acceptance, way more self-kindness. Like I'm touch wood, yeah, like there's obviously you always find yourself like beating yourself up here and there, but
Yeah.
I'm in a place with myself that I've never thought in my entire life that I would love myself as much, you know what I mean? So, and it's like, again, we have to always understand this difference of, if I love myself, it's just self-love. It's not being arrogant. I don't walk around and be like, I'm better than you. That's not what's happening. It's just me loving myself. And therefore, actually, I reflect that to other people rather than say, I'm better
Yes.
than you. I'm just helping them to see how beautiful they are, So the society taught us that self-love is being arrogant, which is, I keep saying it in every time that I talk with people or when I teach, like it is so misunderstood. It's so wrong, because the more we love ourselves, if everyone in the world loved themselves, everything would be utopic. If everyone truly, I'm not talking again about being arrogant, if everyone truly loved themselves and were happy with themselves and just accepting themselves, there would be no issues. It would be just utopia,
There would be no
you
issue.
know? So, and again, it's not like, okay, so the world is, in a way, this is how the world is. So we're not trying to make it something that it's not. But when I started loving myself, obviously that reflected into my relationships. For me now, being alone in the water or surfing, for me that's the most healing thing. Yesterday I surfed on my own, and I literally sat in the water and I looked at like everything around me, birds and rainbows and beautiful views and trees, and like the ocean was crystal clear and the sun was shining, and I was like, this is what I live for, which before, all the fear and all the PTSD symptoms would, make me scared or, have panic attacks, etc. So yeah, so it freed me. And even if I am in the water and all of a sudden, we are in Australia, and in Australia, we have some animals in the water. So I do catch myself sometimes being like, seeing a little stingray or like a manta ray, and you're like, oh, that's so cute. But then like something in your brain is like, sharks. and then
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then just sitting with myself and then understanding what is happening in my mind, yeah, and becoming mindful of the fact that right now I'm safe. There's nothing around me. It's just my thoughts, it's just my patterns that are coming and like trying to, get me involved, which before would, snowball into a full panic attack. While now it's just I have control over it rather than it have controlling over me. So I think that, yeah, my mindfulness just came so beautifully into my life. And after practicing it for a thorough amount of time, I felt confident enough to share it with others. And again, I'm not saying that I'm enlightened or anything like that. I just feel confident to share these teachings, and share my experience, and share, all the other tools that I've gathered that helped me to find calmness, or it doesn't mean that I don't feel emotions anymore. Like, of course I do. I feel all the emotions. And again, it's a dance. Like I said before, it's either I, have the moment, feel the emotions. Like sometimes I just need a hug, sometimes I just need support, and also asking for it. But then sometimes just being able to just sit with myself and just analyze things and just, process things in way more, you know like Anna said, like really relaxed, calm, quiet way.
I think a lot of these concepts are so misunderstood that it sort of keeps people away from trying them and being introduced to them. What you mentioned, having the highest level of self love, I think the biggest impact that you everybody can make in their life on people around them is just being joyful, and that just comes from having that level of self love. You only can give to people what you are. If you're always sad and envious and carrying those kind of emotions and you're not working on them, that's what people around you are getting. So having the highest level of love for yourself allows you to pour that out into other people's cups and give them a taste of what that would look like for them. So I think that's incredible, and it's the most important and biggest thing that you possibly got out of this whole experience. And we see that, like, it's very much,
You can see that on her face. Yeah, it's like radiating. Amber, I want to share one thing, because what you were talking about, again, it resonates with me so much. So Parmeet and I have talked about our different versions or better versions, like the self version, love version that you're talking about. I have a name for it, and the name for mine is superior Anas, right? So it's on my WhatsApp status, it's on my Instagram handle. And every time when I say that to a person, it sounds a little bit of narcissistic. It sounds a little bit of like oh, what do you mean you're superior than us? And then I explain to them that no, like superior Anas is a version which is better than just a past moment of the current Anas that I am. I mean, right now listening to you, during these minutes, I have become a superior version than what I was
Yeah, I
before,
like
you
that.
know.
Yeah.
So definitely you're absolutely right. People just and it's human nature, like you said. People just take it in a way, and you can name it whatever you want. But and again, Permeet has also talked about it so much. Your cup needs to be full. That is when you can start pouring whatever it is, you know, like into other emotional support, financial support, physical support, whatever it is you require. But your cup needs to be 100%.
Yeah, yeah, and I love that. I love that idea. I think that yeah, people can, when they just see a word, they just take it into wherever they come from, wherever they, whatever they know. It's like the same, like I would tell someone I love myself, they would be like, "Oh, she's so arrogant, she's full of herself." But that's not the case because that's not what I mean. So yeah, I think though that like as long as like understanding that superior analysis also, if you have a really intense experience in your life, emotionally low, or something is really really what we considered bad, but I'm not saying that something is good or bad, then understanding that that experience is another version of superior honest, then it's good. Because again, it's the same thing that I said before, that then sometimes people who practice these techniques kind of defeat the purpose of the technique. So as long as we understand that all fluctuations of life are a part of our growth, then and then we accept them. So even if we're not joyous, even if we're sad, then allowing it and just saying, okay, I'm sad right now. And then also being vulnerable enough to say, if you do come in an encounter with another person, either it's like a close person, or just be open about it. And that openness about it and vulnerability is making the difference between being sad and radiating sadness and like negativity into others, rather than inviting people to help and support, or like just that kind of joyous radiation that you were talking about, like radiating joy. Then that sadness experience also become a positive radiation into the world, because you're vulnerable enough to be open and just say, hey, I actually need a hug, I just need help, I just need to just let it all out, or like I need to just, so that is,
Yeah,
yeah.
100%. 100%.
There's a
Very
lot
well
of
said.
power, right? Surrendering to these emotions or practices. Like there's so much power in surrendering just itself,
Yes, and again, this is why I really love being in the ocean. It's because you can't be there without without surrendering. You just can't. You can't surf without surrendering into whatever the conditions are. So, and it's the same with love. If you don't surrender into love, you're just always going to have a relationship that is full of ego, or that you need things from others, rather than if you surrender and you allow people to give you. Because how many times, especially like as men or as women nowadays, that we are, these fierce women that can do everything, and we find ourselves being very masculine, and very, if someone want to give us something, is like, nah, I can do it on my own. So sometimes you can do it on your own, which is fine, but sometimes if you refuse that receiving, that is kind of not surrendering, and that is kind of blocking some kind of a relationship that can happen, and some kind of another layer of harmony between two people.
Yeah, for sure. It's so beautiful. It's a rather hard thing to do. I guess it's something that you're learning to do throughout life. I certainly am. Surrendering is something that I'm really experimenting with these days, be it to emotion, to a practice. We always have these uh, variables inside that are like playing to direct us into different places. But if you just surrender, then you allow for those spontaneous magical things. You create space for those things to come about that are outside of your imagination and comprehension, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I just want to add, since I'm a manager, I manage a team of executives, and I've had this problem with me, like, of trusting and delegating, and I'm like, I'll always give them the most inconsequential task, while I would do the consequential tasks that matter. But lately, yeah, I mean, I just have to. You just have to trust. You just have to let go, and you just have to ask for help as well, because sometimes I'm be struggling myself as well. So yeah, it's truly an art, truly an art of learning, trusting, and just letting go. And I absolutely agree with you, Amber. Like, ever since I've started doing that, since I've started letting go, my relationship with my executives, my colleagues, have become more and more profound, more and more substantial. So yeah.
Exactly. And it's like, it's also said a lot of that in there's a book called Tao Te Ching. And it's kind of like a book, from the old tradition of the Tao to, there's a lot of instructions there for leaders. And it's very beautiful to read that and understand how there's such a beautiful, more flowy way to lead people. Now we are living in a very patriarchal kind of society that just have power, money, ego, all, and then like all the things that we grow up with is like work hard, get it, da, 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 da. And then when you are so in that drive to get into the peak of the mountain that you set for yourself and all your goals, you are so driven that if you have a team, sometimes you forget that there's like, okay, you can be the manager of this team, but you're not going to the mountain alone. Like, you can't climb the Everest, or like on your own. Maybe you can, but you know what I mean. Especially when there's a support behind you, it's a bit silly to just go for it with ignoring the fact that they can actually do things. So the more you actually trust and surrender into that group, into that team that you have, the more that they would actually get that spark of like, I want to get up there as well, and I want to do this work as well. So sometimes we think that through control we gain, success, or getting into the goals, or getting to that level or whatever. But sometimes, not sometimes, I think the best times, is that if we actually let go and allow the others to do. It's the same like with kids. I don't have kids anymore, but you can be a full bubble wrap parent, and you can just constantly protect your kid, and constantly. But if you take a step back, you would see that actually the kid can do it by itself. And then that is so empowering for the kid, that is so special, because the kid is like, I did it on my own, so it's the same. It's that if you're the authority, you're actually going to gain so much more respect, and so much more that your team would want to, it's not like they would be like, oh, I'm on the clock, so I'm just doing the boring stuff, so I might as well just sit here and like be on my phone, or do something like that, rather than they get the drive because they get responsibility, so yeah, I think it's very
And I
important.
guess not just in a team, like that could be applied to just life in general. You as a person, you're trying to climb this mountain, which is life, and you have this team around you, which is your friends and family. So like it could be applied in to life as well in general, right?
Exactly. And the team is not just, friends and family, it's actually like
Yep.
humanity, animals, it
On a
can be
bigger
even
level, yeah.
on a bigger level, if we all worked together,
Yeah. It's one
the whole world
consciousness.
worked
Yeah, I
together.
mean, the entire, if
to
all countries, entire world, everyone works together, human beings can, it's just so much potential. And I absolutely agree with it. That's where growth happened for me, when my manager trusted me. And I hope, yeah, I can provide the same thing. Parmeet does that with me as well. Like, between us, the synergy is amazing. He trusts with me with things, and I trust him with things as well. So yeah, that's where growth happens. So absolutely
Yeah, and
amazing.
I think it's absolutely necessary as well. I'm curious to know what attracted you to Vipassana, because I feel like from what you mentioned, that was sort of the where the scales changed and breakthrough happened for you.
Yeah, it's kind of strange because I'm from Israel, and in Israel it's quite a known thing. Like it's not like it's a known thing that, like, you know, every second person goes, but we know that this thing exists. So we know that there's this place up near the Sea of Galilee, and you know, you go there for 10 days and you shut up and you meditate, you know.
Okay,
You know,
so you've
so
known
you know,
this
we
since like you were a kid, or
yeah, like it's kind of like in the language as well. So like for instance, you know, if you're, you know, quiet or something and someone is talking, it's like, what, are you on a Vipassana? You know, so it's kind of in a bit in the slang as well. And then I remember that when I was a teenager, so when I was 16, it was when I was like, I just was called to go there. And I just wanted to go. And I told my parents, I think that at the time we didn't even have personal like laptops, or you know, like I think we had like a computer, like a PC computer in the house or something. And I remember that maybe I did have my own that I shared with my sister, but I remember that I looked it up on the internet, and that I told my parents that I want to go. And they said, oh no, you're 16, like your mind is too soft, like no, like it's not right, you're not like yet stable, you know, like because as a teenager you're not very stable, you're very soft in your, you know, you're trying to figure out life, you know, we're all trying to figure out life, but it's, especially when you're a teenager. So um, so when I was 16 and they said that, and they said no, 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 etc. Basically, and this is something I really like to share, and I share that on every retreat, is that basically they didn't know, but actually in, at least in the Goenka style of Vipassana, they do have a 1 day Anapana, which is the preparation technique for Vipassana for teenagers up to 18 or 17. Um, and it's, I think that for me, because I was defined what they call ADD, or I think they call it ADD or ADHD or something like that. So so I think that I could have gained so much from it just from learning Anapana, because Anapanasati, which basically means Anapana is breathing, Sati is mindfulness. So you're learning to observe the air that comes in and out of your nostrils naturally without changing it. So if I'll now tell both of you or anyone that listen, if I'll, or even to myself, to just observe the nostrils, we're going to change the air naturally. We just tend to do
yeah,
that. But just allowing every effort to relax and just observe the natural happenings. And that acts as two important tools. One of them is basically to sharpen the mind. So you would see that you would do that, and for maybe 10 seconds it will work, and then you will have a thought, or you will start feeling drowsy. And one of these will happen, but then coming back every time from wherever the mind is going into that area, start to sharpen the mind, which for someone that is like constantly thinking, or you know, constantly want to do things and can't concentrate, as they say in the conventional, you know, schooling and whatever, then that really helps. The other part of it, which is magical and helped me in life as well, is to start to observe the reality as it is. So that is a very, very important part, because we are observing the breath no matter what it is. It can be shallow, it can be soft, it can be deep. We can't just tell the breath, oh, I actually want you to breathe from the right nostril right now, and you're breathing through the left. So we are usually observing the reality through our filters, while in this way, we start to observe the reality in a very, very subtle way and as it is. And that acts as almost like a laboratory and a tool to teach us how to do that in daily life. But going back to your question, so that happened when I was 16. And then I kind of said, oh, maybe I'll just do it when I go to India, because I knew that I would want to go to India. And when I was in India, I felt like I couldn't I didn't know that there are centers all around the world. I didn't know how it works. And I kind of was looking for teachers, and it didn't happen because you might know, but in India there's like an influx of yoga and
Yeah,
meditation and
yeah,
everything,
yeah.
and it's like kind of
Spiritual
like
Holy Land, the mother of spirituality,
yeah.
India.
Yeah, so it was so confusing, and I was there for 3 months. I was traveling around the world for a year, and I was there for 3 months, and I couldn't quite find the place that I was what I wanted. So I kind of let it go, and then life happened, and then I was 20, almost turning 26. So that's 10 years after that 16 me that wanted to go to Vipassana. And I was living in Bali and I was traveling a lot. And my friend was just leaving to Malaysia to do a Vipassana, to do a course. And I told her, oh my God, I actually wanted to do it 10 years ago. It's coming to 10 years. It's time to do it. So come back, tell me how it was, and I'll go. And then yeah, she came back and she told me it was life changing, and she didn't tell me too much though. She just told me it was life changing and shared a bit of her experience. And then I just said, okay, I just booked it. I was actually on a waiting list, so I wasn't sure I'm going to go until about, I think, 2 weeks before. And then I went there, and I was, yeah, I was just mind blown. I came to that, to Vipassana without knowing even a single thing. I just knew about silence and I knew about meditation, but I didn't know one thing. I didn't know who was Goenka. I didn't know how everything works. Like I literally came with not knowing at all what to expect, and just an open mind and open
I
heart.
think that's the best way to go about it. If you feed yourself with so much information, then your mind already tries to draw these boundaries and limitations around to create some sort of comfort and certainty, which is what basically the mind does. Uh,
Exactly.
yeah, but it's beautiful. I would recommend if this is something that you feel the calling for it, it's an incredible experience. It does require commitment for sure. Uh, I went for Vipassana as well. Unfortunately, I couldn't finish it. I found yours, the one I did with you, because I feel like that was sort of maybe a more relaxed, would you say, version or a hybrid version, in pair with
Yeah, I
other
would
things.
say more feminine, nurturing,
Don't say
supportive.
that. I was the only guy there. Yeah.
No, feminine, no, not feminine. So feminine and masculine is not male and woman, like female and
Okay.
male,
That
yeah.
energy.
Feminine, yeah. So if you go into most of the Buddhist teachings or Zen teachings or even yoga teachings until the recent couple of tens of years, a couple of centuries, it was very like male taught. So it was very patriarchal. Yeah. So there's a very ancient era that was, we lived in a matriarchy actually. And there's actually, I saw a beautiful video about it that shows areas in India actually that where it was like archaeologists found matriarchy cities, and that they were hygiene, and there was um, no sites of like violence like within what they were using and stuff like that. It was very like harmonious and beautiful. So there was a matriarchy, then it turned into a patriarchy. So the time of the Buddha or Jesus, or like all these like significant figures within our history are male. So the way that things were taught, and again, remind you that most women went to, they were having babies and raising kids and being in the kitchen or stuff like that in more kind of traditional
Traditional way.
way. So there were still female that were going to learn these techniques and stuff like that, but it was taught by male. So the whole system is very patriarchal. So if you look at like Goenka system, for instance, it's like 10 hours a day. It's like, very, very strict, very, it's very, also if you, this is a little little criticism that I do have about the system with Goenka is if you go to the teacher, and they're lovely people, but they are not actually considered teachers. They're considered assistant teachers. So the teacher is Goenka, and he passed away. Now, first of all, times are changing, so people need different things. He's still very relevant, and that's very good on him. But these assistant teachers, most likely, if you're going to tell them, if you're going to ask them a question, they're going to tell you probably something like, come back to your breath. And that is not an answer that is looking at that person in front of you, knowing, like, you know, because before the retreat, we did a one-on-one call that I wanted to hear, where are you coming from? What are your traumas? What are your injuries? What happened in your life? So then if something come up for you and you have a question, even the smallest question, or you need to come to me, I know who you are. I'm not just starting to learn who you are. And then when that person come to you, you need to see the person, not yourself. You need to see the person, not the technique. You need to see the person, what they're going through, and think, how do I answer their question? Some people need validation. Some people go through experiences. Now, because it's such a strict kind of system, they're like, if you're experiencing this experience, that is no, that is
Yeah.
that experience is not accepted, because you can't have, you know, let's say visions, or hear things, or feel like other than sensations. It's just sensations, and that's it, you know. So if anything else happens, and things can happen when we're working with our emotional body, things can happen, then that is very narrow minded. Yeah, so there's a lot of things within the system that is very patriarchal and very strict, and not motherly like. Yeah, so when I say feminine, is more like, what I'm trying to bring is that mothery like nurturing approach. Have a smaller group, know everyone, look after everyone, make sure I see everyone, I smile at them, they know they can talk to me, you know, like just a nurturing way to go through this experience. Yeah.
Thank you for that clarity. And everybody, male or female, does have that feminine and masculine side to them, right? So you have to nurture both. And with what you said about Goenka, I think I agree completely. It's sort of delivered in a way that it's for the masses. It's not individualized in that manner. So the technique in that sense is for the masses. Nevertheless, very helpful. Uh,
Yes, yeah. And some people, like, for me it was, you know, life changing. So I'm not going to criticize that, you know, like, for some people it's great, but some people, you, they need a different
Different
approach.
approach,
We're
yeah.
different, you know, we're different. So when I was growing up, like, I needed a certain way to learn, you know, that is not conventional. So then they said, you can't concentrate, you're ADD, you might need Ritalin or whatever. Luckily for me, my neurologist said, you can use it, but you don't have to. And that sent me to work hard, you know. So I'm grateful for her, because she didn't just say, take the medicine. She said, it's upon you, you know. And when you hear that as an ambitious kid, you're like, okay, I'm going to go to work.
And that's what a lot of people do. But like you said, there's no single practice in this world that's for everyone. Not just practice, even tangible things or intangible things. Nothing is for everyone. So mindfulness, I would say, is important. Vipassana is just another technique, right? So there's several techniques of mindfulness. But would you say mindfulness is like everybody should have it as a part of their life because we have a mind? So essentially.
Yeah, I think that basically, um, so basically Vipassana was what the Buddha was teaching in order to learn to get out of suffering. Even within Vipassana, there are three techniques. So there's Anapana that I described before, there's Vipassana, and there's Metta Bhavana. Metta Bhavana is a love and kindness meditation. So these are already three super beneficial techniques. Now, mindfulness is a very broad
Broad
way
term,
to tell
yeah.
you to just practice,
Being
like, what is
present.
happening
Yeah.
right now. Yeah, being
Yeah.
present. um what I do find that is harder is that if you do go into like a Vipassana course, retreat, etc., and you or a mindfulness training, but you get out of daily life and you get a really profound long experience, and that can also happen. I have never experienced it, but can happen also with ayahuasca, for instance. You know, if you have a very deep experience into the depth of your soul and to the depth of your experience, then the very kind of 5 minutes of mindfulness, you know, kind of practices can help, because you already have that blueprint, and then you can, you know, access it at any moment. While if you just start, obviously, if you just start and you start with 5 minutes, good on you, you know, like, it's not to say that, but it's to say that it will be helpful, but it will be harder, because it will be harder to build upon. While if you had a really profound, deep experience, then when you come into that mindfulness, it's like a bit easier to go from 96% of the day that we're in our subconscious mind to less, yeah, and be more conscious throughout the day.
I agree. Like, I also practiced meditation for like 2, 3 years before I went to a retreat, before I came to yours retreat, and only going into that retreat and practicing it for a few days really taught me that what it actually is. So 3 days that I was doing it, yeah, I was seeing some small differences there and there, but I truly didn't like believe in the practice and see real benefits, which is what keeps it sustainable for me to keep investing more time into this again and again. That's what it is, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and for me, I understood, you know, as a yoga teacher, I understood yoga. You know, I understood what yoga is. I was teaching yoga, and I look at what I was teaching, and I was like, what? Like, you know, I was like, I understood what we're practicing. I understood, you know, and again, I went through a life-changing experience that then, like you said, I have the motivation to invest to 1 day a month when I can, to do a Vipassana day at home, disconnect, practice about, you know, 5 hours meditation, to, if I can, incorporate it in my day. So it can be in a seat, but it can also be when I'm in the ocean surfing, when you're running, when you're dancing, when you're talking with someone and you're in a difficult situation. Then it becomes more and more part of your life in so many different forms. But you have, like you said, the motivation because you saw how it can help you. So you know that same like investing in good food or in food in general, because you nourish yourself and your body, you nourish your mind, you know. So that is when it becomes a bit more profound. So mindfulness across the board is amazing. And again, there are many, like you said, there are many techniques. Even in Vipassana, there are many different kind of streams, because again, it came kind of from Burma and then it went into India. And I mean, it came from kind of, they kind of say India and then Burma, Burma and then India, but then it went to Thailand. So there's different styles as well. And then some people need the more strict ones because that's how they sit, you know, they just need someone to police them. But then some people just need someone to support them. And some people, you know, anything is open. But we also want to understand that there are, like you said, there are different techniques and different things that, different tools that we can use. So for instance, Advaita Vedanta is trying, not trying, but starting to tap into something that is a little bit greater than just this physical body, this mind, these sensations, and the psychological experience. In Buddhism, there is also kind of these kind of practicing. So there's shunya time, there's different approaches which you kind of go into maybe a little bit later on, but there are so many different techniques, and the more you find different techniques, and now I'm also contradicting Goenka a little bit, because he's like, that's the only technique, that's what you're doing, da
Yeah,
da
I
da
don't
da,
like that part.
which which is serving a purpose. The purpose is you don't want to spread yourself too thin, because you might not get established in the technique. Now, it's not to say that we own the technique, but at some point you're like, I understand that this technique is my tool for that, you know? So I work on myself in this way but I also work on myself in this way. And when you have a toolbox and you know what each technique is for, you don't mix them. Yeah. And also invest a specific amount of time in one technique. Just go for it, dive, head first, work with it. So you see the benefits of it. So you understand it. So you get more established. You understand how to use it and what it's good for. And then you have, again, a toolbox of different things. So I can do this meditation for that. And I can do this meditation for that. And I can do pranayama for that, even though Goenka said not to do pranayama. And I wouldn't feel guilty.
Oh, is that so? He said,
So
ah,
he basically says he's not condemning pranayam and that there's a reason
in the
for it,
discourse,
etc.,
he
but don't do
mentions
it.
about these things in the discourse, right? He's talking about other techniques and comparing it to Vipassana. For me, like, I think for most people, majority of the population, they just want something simple that they can practice on a regular basis to be present and be more aware of their emotions and lead a more fulfilling and happier life. And uh, yeah, simple mindfulness. Or I personally, this is what I do. I do visualizing and gratitude practices and other stuff, but as my sort of core practice that I do every day, Anapana works best for me. It's very simple, very straightforward. And again, yeah, it's something that you're trying to work on your focus and attention with your breath, and then you can apply that to other things in life. I think the most important thing is awareness, self awareness, right? And for that, I think Anapana is incredible, does incredibly well.
Yeah, and we also have phases in our lives, and you might find a phase in your life that you're like, I want to try this thing, and I want to try this approach, and that is fine as long as you're aware what you're doing. Yeah, so if almost know the system to break the rules, like almost know
Yeah,
that you
for your
are right
benefit.
now. Yeah, that you are right now just like sailing in different waters, and you want to see where that helps you, and again, like combining things when it's appropriate, and then working on one thing at a time when it's appropriate.
Yeah, certainly.
And again, like you said, be aware and just know what works for you. It's the same like knowing what foods are good for you. Some people, this is not good for them and this is not good, but you just need to understand, like, is that feeling good in my stomach? Is that feeling good in my energy levels? So it's the same with the mind.
Yeah, I agree, certainly. And to me, from my experience, self awareness is the biggest thing. And that's what I sort of, with all these practices, trying to work towards as well. You specialize in a lot of practices. Chi, when I heard about Chi was from you the first time. I never knew about sacrocranial therapy. I found that out from you as well. We did a bit of pranayama. We obviously did anapana and vipassana. So, just to conclude this podcast, I want you to tell us about all the things that you specialize in and tell us about a bit of your offerings. And you have a lovely, beautiful, purpose driven brand as well, uh, jewelry brand, I believe. So, please tell us a little bit about those things.
um yeah, wow, you brought the jewelry brand. What? Yeah, I don't really do it so much anymore. I'll start with that because that's kind of like in the timeline, that's probably the first thing. So I started traveling around the world for a year, as I mentioned before, and I started being exposed to lots of different cultures and countries and craftsmanship, and I was really excited about it, and I just started collecting jewelry and essentially as well, eventually also designing jewelries with a really beautiful silversmith in Bali that they became my one of my Balinese families. Um, so yeah, that actually it was beautiful because that quest to find these like very traditional things actually got me into very unique places and situations to really kind of I really wanted to get to the source. And then I wanted to just bridge, cultures, and for instance, Israeli people can't go to Indonesia because Indonesia is a Muslim place, or Malaysia. So for me, it was like really cool to sell, like, Indonesia, yeah, in Indonesian and Malaysian jewelry and craftsmanship to people that can't travel there, and they can have that as a little experience or as a little like reminder or whatever it is for them. um so that kind of was something I was just doing, you know. I didn't think, it wasn't like I want to do this and I'm going to do it A B C
It just
D, you
flowed.
know. So
Yeah.
yes. And then it did get me like to really cool places, but it was I didn't have the time and the effort because the world changed, right? Like now, a jewelry brand, you have to have a really strong Instagram account and like e-commerce and like all these things, that it needs to be your priority and like, you know, your business, you know. And I didn't really want to go that alley. So I do have still jewelries, and I'm probably going to, they're now in Israel, so I'm going to, they traveled with me, they've been everywhere, but most of them are now in Israel. I'm going to bring them here and probably like kind of slowly sell the last bit of it. um but yeah, like after doing that for a bit, as I mentioned, like I found that my colleague was teaching yoga, and I started teaching yoga, and then lots of different experiences in my life started to bring in different modalities into my life. So, for example, when I was 14, I experienced the first time acupuncture. So I was going regularly to acupuncture, and I saw how it was helping me. So I was really interested in it. And my mom actually is a dietitian, and she learned Chinese medicine and herbs. So I also ask her a lot of questions, and all my acupuncturists around the world. I'm always this annoying client that is like, what does that mean? What does that mean? Where's that? Like, what is this? What is this point? Like, you know, it's like really powerful. What is this? So I ask a lot of questions and read a lot, because I find that the whole meridian system is very, very, very
Yeah.
special. And then combining it obviously with yin yoga. So again, like kind of going within the time frame. Not long after I did my first YTT, I was helping a friend. I was living in Bali, and I was helping a friend with, she was a single mom, and she was doing a training with craniosacral therapy. And I was just helping her with her kids because her ex-husband was not really present. And I was quite stressed, and she said, well, you seem really stressed recently. Like, do you want to come and be a model in the course? And I didn't know what I'm going to receive. I didn't know anything, and I just received it, and I was like, whoa. And that was something that I wrote down to myself. I want to learn this later on down the track, which later on I found the same teacher, like her teacher in Bali, and another teacher, and they became my teachers, and I learned that. And then sound came into my life again in a very unique circumstances. I went to my mother-in-law, which you met. She has a masseuse in Fremantle, and I went to her. She's Thai, and she does like this Thai massage, but she combines these sound bowls, and I was feeling this. I was like, whoa, that's really amazing. And at the end, she said, "Oh, it was just a period of time when we kind of got stuck here in Western Australia, from Bali in the beginning of COVID." And she said, you live in Margaret River, you need to meet this woman. She's my sound teacher. You need to meet her. And she literally, like, she urged me. She was like, she was not gonna give me like a break, you know. And then I met with my very, very beautiful sound teacher and friend. Actually, she was having an event before a class that I was teaching here in one of the studios, and I walked into the studio, and I could feel the energy in this place. It was quite special, you know. Um, and nowadays we're very good friends, and we do events
Yeah.
together, and we might even do a retreat together. So we do a lot of things together. And like you said, that both of you have a very good sync with your work and your relationship. This is how we are together. very we do business in a feminine way. So we don't count how much, like I was doing the admin, so like I need to
Yeah,
take more
yeah,
money for it, like,
yeah.
or she was bringing her studio space. So it's kind of a very harmonious, beautiful way to do business. And in the events themselves, when we do these things together, we do sync, and it's quite like we have moments that we look at each other and we're like, what is going on,
Because there's alignment
um
and purpose, which is to give, right? So that's why both of you come from that place.
exactly. And we are essentially all connected, so when you tap into that connection, and that's the thing with craniosacral, many people tell me, whoa, you just hit the spot, like how did you know? And I'm like, I just listen to your
That was
system.
me. The first time you did it on me, I was like, what's going on here? Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, and it's because I just listen.
Yeah.
So I literally, like, in my practice, when I start to get out of my own biosphere and I enter someone else's biosphere. And it sounds super woo woo, but there are things that we can't grasp, but they exist. So same like you said, I knew where to go. Like, I didn't know it from Amber's brain or Amber's mind or Amber's knowing. I knew it from just listening. And many times, especially when it's like a yin practice, and I just go and give yin to lots of different people very quickly. And I mean, craniosacral. So I just like rub my hands and I just put my hands there and I just let them go. And it's like a magnetic field, it's just that your system would tell me this is
Your
where I need
frequency
you right now.
guides, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I don't even know how to call it like scientifically, but that it feels, magnetic, or I don't know. So that's the craniosacral, and then I started combining. I learned the sound massage, which is these very specific. It's not normal, like your regular sound bowls that you find in the market. They're made by a specific composition of elements that create very deep vibrations. So when placed on the body or around the body, it feels like an internal massage. So it's called sound massage. Um, so I started combining them, and then I started falling in love more and more with sound, and how sounds travel through our body, and where it actually travel faster in water, and we're about 67 or something like that percent water. Yeah, so it travels through us so profoundly, and it's just beautiful and special to, every time I'll find another instrument, and like, I'll sit with it and I'll just start to learn how to play this. I'm not a musician, but I just pick up also non-musical, the idea with sound, like what is called today sound healing, but I don't like to call anything that I do healing, because I don't want to. It's a very egoistic thing to say that I'm a healer. It's like I'm going to heal you. So we don't like to call it sound healing, just because we don't want people to think that they can't fix themselves. Like, and I don't even like to use the word fix, because nobody needs to be fixed. We're perfect, we're perfect how we are.
Facilitating,
But
perhaps.
yeah. So we're like, I would call myself a sound bath facilitator, So a sound bath is like bathing people in sound. That is a bit more appropriate in my eyes. So then, yeah, sound bath came into my life as well, and it's very, very special and beautiful to use that as well. What else? There's like so many different things that I pick up.
And this is the beauty of it, because you have a deep desire and interest in these things to learn and learn more and more and go deeper and deeper. It just comes from that place of purpose and genuinity. And that's the beauty of it. I think the way you brought together all these practices was so unique and incredible to see. Nothing I've ever experienced before. And I'm always look out for retreats, and I'm in this sort of industry now as well. So I'm looking at how I'm very experimental and explore. So I like to go everywhere and see and what's going on and get a taste of it. Uh, I haven't come across what you did up until now. Anything. It's the way you bring it all together is incredible, and I'm gonna link it with your permission, obviously. Everything in the description. So if people get a chance to experience this profound experience, they can. When's the next retreat? Is it Egypt, or is it, are you doing?
Right now, unfortunately, because of what happening in the Middle East, yeah, not yet,
But we can
unfortunately.
stay in touch. They can.
Yeah, the next retreat though is happening in Bali actually in 2025 in March. There's gonna be like it's going to be on the equinox and the beginning astrological year, but also it's going to be between two eclipses. So I do like to astrology is another thing that I picked up. I'm currently doing finally my beginner's astrology course, but it's something I'm passionate about. So I'm usually planning retreats around special astrological events, mainly the long retreats, mainly around eclipses, because it's very powerful times, especially for transformation and doing something new. Um, so yeah, I have like a lot of local offerings here in Margaret River in Western Australia, but the next big retreat is going to be in Bali in March 2025.
That's
So
amazing.
that's
Beautiful. Is that in
exciting.
Bali
Yeah,
Eco Stay as well? What a magical place. I don't know how you found that, but oh, what a
I
place.
know, I know. Yeah, look, I lived in Bali for many years, but I didn't know about it then. It was only when I got that, like when I did the first retreat here in Western Australia, and when I finished this retreat, there's a very sacred place at the top of the hill there, very sacred for the Aboriginals. And I went there, and I just knew, and that's what I told you as well when we had the chat, and you asked me about my purpose. Is I just knew that that's my
Oh
purpose in
wow, this
life,
looks
and
amazing.
Yeah, Bali Eco
it
Stay.
was,
Yeah,
yeah,
looks
yeah,
looks
it is,
something out
yeah,
of a
yeah, yeah,
movie.
yeah. It is. It's even the photos don't do justice. So when I had that realization, I just said, okay, I need to first of all on the way there, I just had that like download. That I knew. I said, if that goes well, I'm doing one in Sinai in Egypt, and then I already like started working on that. But then I thought about Bali, so I started already looking for a place, and I looked quite thoroughly. And when I found Bali Eco Stay, I was just after this retreat that I was teaching, I was going back to Bali after COVID. So I booked myself to go there on a Scorpio full moon, which I'm a Scorpio as well, to do like Vipassana on my own to just feel the vibe. But I just arrived there, and I remember that I drove on my bike, and I just turned off the main
Hmm.
road, and I just could not believe my eyes. I just said, I lived in Bali for so many years, but this area is like what Bali used to be back in the day. Like,
And you see the people and the feel. Oh, people of Bali are. There's just something about Bali. That place is
yes,
magical. That place is
definitely.
magical.
Yeah, it's like definitely forever my home. And yeah, Bali Eco Stay, seriously, like the owners are amazing, the staff are amazing. I remember when I arrived there, I fell asleep for 3 hours, like, just from how calm you are, like you just get there and you just relax.
They grow everything, pretty
So
much everything in house as well, and it's beautiful.
yeah, it's all permaculture. So it's something as well that I really care about when I do these retreats, is like everything is, very sustainable, very like down to earth. But yeah, this place is so special, and I'm very, very
Yeah,
lucky.
very well
Yeah,
thought out. I'm
yeah.
so incredibly lucky and grateful that I got to be a part of it as well. And I've shared it with so many people. I've shared with so many people. Uh, but lastly, thank you, Amber. So grateful for you
Thank
coming
you
on
for
here.
inviting me.
Yeah.
I just
Uh,
have one question. So,
yes.
all of this, your practices and everything, what do you do for relaxing yourself, just enjoying life?
Surfing? Or
Well, surfing, yeah, surfing for sure is my devotion at the moment. I actually surf more than I practice like yoga asana. It's definitely my devotion, but again, it's the same like asana. It's like if you do any practice spiritually in the body, You know, when in the ocean, you just come to know yourself very well, you know. If you get irritated or like frustrated, it's like, you know, you sit with that frustration and like, why am I frustrating? Like, why am I frustrated? I'm in the elements, I'm in nature. Some people cannot get to the ocean. Some people cannot even catch a wave. Some people don't even own a surfboard. Some, you know, and it just brings you so back to understanding, like being like, why am I frustrated right now? Like, what is my reason? You know, literally asking myself, what is my reason right now to be frustrated? I'm so rich, you know, I'm so blessed with just being here, you know. And it just reflects, the ocean reflects on you, all your emotions, you know, all your complexes, and you just can't get away from it. So you just have to, you have to sit with it, and yeah, and surrender to the ocean. If I would want to catch a wave, if I'm like, that's mine, you know, like it's not gonna happen, you know. So it's only when, like, I feel like every day I have realization in the water. And one of the very profound realizations was when, you know, how people say that you get addicted to it, or you get addicted to catching waves and all of that. But I think that when we get addicted, if we do get addicted to something, I'm trying to not get attached, you know, but obviously I'm a human. But I think that what we get addicted to is a very special feeling of being connected to something very greater to you. You know, you're riding a wave, a pulsation of the ocean. Like you're on this thing together, you know. This is very special. It's a very weird thing that all of the things, there's so many things that need to align in order for you to even just be in the water. Tides, weather, winds, you know, swells, everything. And then you, even to just catch a wave, you need to read the ocean, you need to know to pop up, you need to be in the right spot, you need to paddle hard, you need to do all of these things. And then when that thing happens and you're connected to something that is so, so big from you, but you feel that you're not just you, you're not just your body, you're just something bigger than that. And that is, I think, that thing that people get addicted to. You know, they get addicted to that moment when you're not your thinking self, you're not anything, you're just on the wave and you're connected to that bigger thing.
I've seen like with surfing, spirituality sort of goes like hand in hand. I'm not a surfer, but I've definitely seen that
But
from
it's
my
with everything that you choose, you know. It
yeah.
can be for you with
It
running,
is
it
for
can
me.
be
I
with
was gonna
anything
say
that you
for
choose.
me it's running, yeah, in different ways,
Yeah,
of course,
so
but yeah,
yeah, and again, it becomes like my friend told me, then it becomes Zen and. So like Zen and cooking, Zen and running, Zen and surfing. So, you know, it's like you just make it for your own, yeah, your own spiritual practice, but we're all spiritual, so it's like your own way to tap into the spiritual, probably. Yeah.
Uh, thank you so much. Very grateful, not just for what you do, but more importantly, what you are. Your energy is so contagious, and I'm grateful to have experienced it and share with so many people. I hope you can come to Sydney soon, or I can come to Margaret
Yes,
River
it
soon.
will happen. Yeah.
And
You,
please, most welcome to Dubai as well. Okay, so whenever, yeah,
Yes. Yeah, I actually been to Dubai for a day. It was very expensive
it is,
though.
yeah. Well, Dubai is very different from, yeah,
Water is expensive. Water costs me more than
yeah. You have to
anything.
pay for, yeah.
What is that? I mean, you're in the desert, I get it, but like,
No, it's more expensive than fuel, like gas, like petrol. It's more expensive than petrol.
yeah,
I literally I went to this
I'll
like bar.
check back with the ministry and see what can.
I went to this bar and went there. It like looks on the this like how what's the name of this like hotel?
Burj
Like
Khalifa or Burj Al Arab?
the yes, yeah, the I think the Khalifa one in the Palm in the yeah.
Atlantis.
Oh,
So
It's
or maybe it's Atlantis. It's the
Atlantis.
one that is in the
Yeah,
Palm,
that's
like
Atlantis.
that you
Yeah.
sit there and it's like yeah. So yeah, no, it's the Khalifa is the building. Yeah, no, I'm talking about the hotel. Yeah. So I was like, went to this bar specifically for sunset, for like happy hour, to have an espresso martini and like watch this hotel and like sunset, just like the water and sunset and everything. And obviously alcohol is very expensive, so I went there to have like a half price martini. I had like one day in Dubai, so I was going like everywhere. I was like just Ubering everywhere because I just wanted to see, yeah, like I just wanted to like check all the galleries and this and this and this and this. So full tourist. So I went there and I had a cocktail, and then I asked for a glass of water, which in Australia is like normal to just ask for a glass of water. And then they brought this like glass bottle with like a golden label.
Yeah,
And before I said anything, they just cracked it, and it cost the same as the cocktail. And I was like,
that's
what?
why I left. Why do you think I left Dubai? I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Well, Israel is very expensive as well. So I guess it's similar. But yeah, it was just very strange. Like there were things that were super cheap and then things that were like ridiculously expensive. Like I went in front of the all the like fountains and stuff. There was a really good restaurant. And obviously I'm from the Middle East, so for me all the like Arabic food is like mwah, it's like my favorite. So I was sitting there for dinner and like the food was so cheap. And again, a bottle of water was
It
just
just depends where you
ridiculous.
go. Like there's places in Dubai that are cheap as well, relatively compared. So it just comes down to where you go. Dubai
No, but the food was cheap. The water was expensive. It's
in
just the
this in the
water.
same place, or this was a
No,
different place?
that was like a different restaurant. The food was cheap.
Yeah, it's just yeah. I mean, it's just a touristic city, and capitalism. So
Yeah, there's definitely good places if you know the city. There is places that are sort of price friendly more as well that you can go to. But yeah, hopefully you can make it there, and hopefully you can make it to Sydney as well. I'd love to have you here.
Now there are cheap flights to Sydney, so
Yes,
we
please.
might
Yeah,
do a
please,
trip one
please.
time. Yeah.
100%. It'd be really nice to meet you. And please say hi to everybody. Uh, yeah, please give them my love as well. And I just want to thank everybody who's been watching us and joined us. Thank you for being a part of this. We truly appreciate it. And lastly, Amber, thank you so much. Really
thank you so
appreciate
much.
it. And hopefully I
Thank
can see you
you.
very soon.
Yeah. Thank you. Have a beautiful
You
day.
too. Take care. Bye bye.
Ciao, guys.